WHAV, Merrimack Valley, Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new Open Mic Show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
And good evening, and welcome to the Open Mic Show with Bill Macek and Bill Ellis. We are here for another Monday night, Bill.
You know what's funny, Billy? We in our little pre-show discussion, we never mentioned what today is.
Today is
Indigenous Peoples Day.
October 8th.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day,
That's
or
right.
as it was for 400 or 500 years, Columbus Day.
Now, do you remember the three ships?
The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria.
You know, you can't be beat. You're the best.
You're pretty good at trivia too.
Well,
you know, we would probably spar with one another on Jeopardy.
That would be fun.
It would.
We should do a Jeopardy night some night.
Yeah, we could. We could buy the board game. We'll bring it in and play.
That would be good.
All right.
Who are we sponsored by tonight, Billy?
We are. This hour of the Open Mic Show is sponsored in part by Auto Fair Subaru at 503 Broadway in Haverhill, right off I-495 at exit 50. So we appreciate their sponsorship and making the Open Mic Show happen every Monday night. What do you think?
They're good people.
They
I've
are
heard
good
a lot
people.
of positive things about
We could use a few
them.
more sponsors, though. So,
Well, if anybody's listening out there, like to sponsor the
we got room
show.
for more. If anybody would like to sponsor the show, they should contact WHAV and speak to Tim Coco or one of the other people in the sales department.
That would be nice.
Yes,
But
it would.
Let's talk about cakes.
Let's talk about Albie D's,
Yes.
who is nice enough to donate a birthday cake once a month.
Or anniversary
Or
cake.
it could be an anniversary cake, right? It's birthdays or anniversaries because we have the birth anniversary contest.
I like that.
You like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
You thought that up yourself?
No.
No? Somebody else did?
Yeah.
Here I thought you were creative.
No, actually, the last station I was involved with, my morning guy and filling guy, Ray C. Remember Ray?
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul is right.
He was great.
He used to do the birth anniversaries. He made that up, and I think it's pretty cool. It's like the in schools they have the cafetorium,
Right.
when it's the auditorium and the cafeteria. You know, they kind of blend those words together like that.
You know, it's funny how you do that. It reminds me of an old joke. What's the difference between a wedding and a funeral?
I don't know. What is it, Bill?
At a wedding, you get to smell the flowers.
It's terrible.
It is terrible. You know what's
You
funny?
are terrible.
You mentioned Ray C's name. It brought back to me memories. He was old-time radio. Remember, they never used the last name. They always used an initial, Ray
Yeah.
C.
Right.
Used to hear about Murray the K.
Yeah.
You know, way
Yeah,
back when.
Way back when, yeah.
Yeah.
When, even I used a professional name when I was on the
But
air.
you didn't use an initial. You went by Rick James.
No, I didn't go by Rick James. I went by Bill Maxwell.
I remember that, Bill
primarily.
Maxwell. Yeah.
And then I told you, one time I was working at two stations that were in the same area, and I was told by the general manager, you can work here, but you got to use a different name. So I picked Rick Adams.
Isn't that, you're pretty creative with that.
Yeah.
You like the name Rick, though.
Why? I didn't. What do you mean? I used it once. I like the name Bill. That's what I've used most of the time.
Well, because you're used to Bill.
Yeah.
Because you're used to that. But
Right.
Bill and Rick.
But some people change their first name too, which I think it gets confusing. But in radio, because I used the name Bill Maxwell, more people called me Max than called me Bill.
Really?
Yeah. I remember the first guy that said to me at a station I was working at, he says, "I'm going to call you." Yeah, when I introduced myself to him, he says, "I'm going to call you Max," and
Well,
it's
that's good.
it stuck. That's where it all came
Well,
from.
my motto is, I don't care what you call me, just don't call me late for
Yeah.
dinner.
Hey, you know what? Let's finish up on the birthday, the birth anniversary contest. We are going to be taking calls and getting information on people with November birthdays or anniversaries. Call them into our producer, Chris, and he will take down the information. If we don't have a guest, if we've got open line time, then we will put you right on the air. You can talk to us on the air.
And I'm excited. We have a
And
guest
it's
coming up.
978-374-1900. We have a guest coming right up. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with our guest, Rick Green. He's the Republican candidate for the 13th Essex District to go to Congress. That's what he'd like to do. It's
I wonder if that's his
it's
real
Niki-
name.
Niki Tsongas' seat. We'll check. All right. We'll be right back right here on the Open Mic Show on 97.9 FM.
Open Mic.
Bill Macek and the new open mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900. If you're enjoying this program, consider becoming a WHAV member right now. Just click on the membership tab at WHAV.net.
Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Catch the wave!
Suspense, a weekly anthology of notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented every Monday night to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense. Listen to the new Suspense with a company of Hollywood actors and surprising guest stars, Monday nights at 10, with encore performances at 1 a.m., right here on WHAV. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight.
Former Massachusetts State Police forensic scientist Paul Zambella is bringing his crime lab expertise to the Haverhill Public Library Thursday, October 11th for a free Q&A and discussion about some of the state's most notorious cases. The 6:30 p.m. free event is recommended for patrons who are high school age or older. Advance registration is requested by calling the library 978-373-1586, extension 608. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at WHAV.net or email news@WHAV.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, I'm Eric Scott.
Catch the wave. WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new Open Mic Show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
We are back on the Open Mic Show right here with Bill Macek, Bill Ellis, and in the middle we have our guest, Rick Green.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you for coming. Rick, you are a candidate for the, I believe it's the 13th Congressional District in Massachusetts? Third Congressional District in Massachusetts.
We haven't had 13
That's
for
right.
a long time.
Yeah, you're right. I knew that 3 was there. All right, so you're. We know it is Niki Tsongas' seat for so many years because she's the one that's held it, right?
Yeah, she has been there.
But you're
for some
looking
time.
to be the next person to hold it.
Absolutely.
Right, and tell me a little bit about yourself and why you think people should consider a vote for you come Election Day, November 6th.
Sure. I'm Rick Green. I'm running for Congress. I'm from Pepperell, Massachusetts, a small town on the New Hampshire border. My brother and I, 20 years ago, started an auto parts company, 1A Auto, selling auto parts online. And in Pepperell, and most of the folks who know Pepperell know it as a small town on the New Hampshire border, but what they may not know is it was also a mill town. For most of the last century, the paper mill was the largest employer in town. But in the early 2000s, the paper mill fell on hard times, and a lot of folks lost their job, and downtown was hit pretty hard. But within a few short years, that tiny company that my brother and I started in a garage became the largest employer in town. To date, we've created over 500 jobs. We have locations in Westford and Littleton. And when I tell you I know what it takes to get the economic engine of the 3rd District revving, it's because I've done it. It's because of that success. That's why I'm running for Congress. This is my way of giving back.
That's nice. And you also know as a businessman how to work with businesses to help grow more jobs, to help improve the economy of the whole district.
Absolutely, and understand how to take an old mill economy and transform it, and create new economy jobs.
Now, Rick, how many employees do you have at your company?
Over 500.
Okay. So with you have a good business background, and you being in businesses for as long as you have, you know that you can't just write checks if there's no money in the account, like the U.S. government's doing right now with $20 trillion in debt, and the debt basically doubled under Barack Obama. We have had a little increase with Donald Trump, but we've had a lot of positive things with the Trump administration also.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, I talk about the fact that Congress should have to live by the same rules as everybody. They should have to live under those laws. And one of the first things I'm going to do when I go down there is, pass or at least propose a bill that Congress folks can't get their pay increased until they balance the budget. I mean, the fact is, you and I have to balance our checkbooks at home and in our business, and Congress should have to do the same thing.
How long will it take, though, to balance the budget?
I don't know. What I can tell you is I won't vote for any budget that doesn't bring the deficit down year over year. I mean, we've got to start that process now. The thing is, once the economy gets going, and it's roaring right now, we saw this in the 90s, it can turn really fast. When the economy's growing, people are going back to work. People who weren't paying taxes, now you have more people paying taxes. You're growing the tax base. We saw that within just a few short years. The economy grows 3, 4, 5%, and we can get out of the hole. But we've got to get that going.
I think, what I like about you as a candidate, you're going to be going down there. I mean, you're a Republican, to try to work with Trump. It seems like everybody on the left, all they want to do is try to negate everything. Does the left have a message? It's resist. How can you resist unemployment rates at the lowest since 1969, and you've got the economy booming? We keep hitting numbers that keep growing and growing and growing. So what sort of a message does the left have to try to negate what Trump's done?
Look, I can't speak to that. I mean, I'm here to talk about what I can do and why I'm the best person to represent the folks of the 3rd District. What I will say is I bring something to the entire Massachusetts delegation that they don't have. I bring diversity of thought. If you think about this, on the day that I'm sworn in, I will be the senior member of the majority party, because it's quite possible I'll be the only member of the majority party from the state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is the largest state with single-party representation, and that hurts us across a whole host of issues, specifically infrastructure and issues like that. That I've made a lot of pledges. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to fix the Rourke Bridge. We're going to widen Route 2. I'm going to fix the Concord Rotary, but I'm going to also help other folks in the delegation get things done for the state, because I'll be able to talk with leadership, be able to talk with the administration, and get things done that our current delegation can't get done.
Well, when I mentioned it about the left, maybe I was venting and I shouldn't pose it in your direction, but I just don't understand what their thought pattern is. Now, you mentioned the Route 2 Rotary. How would you fix that?
So you can actually go on MassDOT's website, massdot.org or .gov, and you'll see every 8 years for the last either 24 or 32 years, there's a plan on how to fix it. They do a traffic study. They have engineering drawings for a flyby and how you fix it. But then, they get the plan and they say, okay, what do we do next? And they start to line up the federal regulatory approvals and the state approvals and things like that. And they got to go to this one, the Army Corps of Engineers, and they've got to go to Department of Fish and Wildlife and EPA, and they do it one after the other. It takes more than 8 years. The traffic study runs out, and they have to go back to square one. The beauty of this whole thing is we've been spending millions of dollars on studying the problem. All right, the money's actually there. We don't need any additional monies. We just have to stop spending it on continuously studying the problem and start fixing it.
What were your thoughts? What do you think is the best way to go about it? Are you familiar with it, Billy? The Route 2 Concord Rotary?
Yeah, well, I've traveled it many times.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, the Concord Rotary? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, would you basically set up roads? Because there's a lot of, if you're heading from west to east, there's a lot of land on the right-hand side that you maybe could do a bypass type thing, for people that are getting off that exit, a lot sooner than when they hit the Rotary. Or you could do kind of like what they did at the Foxborough with the Patriots. You get the overpass, underpass type of situation.
Yep. Well, like I said, you can go on the website. The plans already exist. I mean, the civil engineers, they've already drawn up the plans multiple times. So there's 2 or 3 different options for where the road goes, how you go. Do you go over the Rotary? Do you redo it? I mean, they have. You have your choice. It's a smorgasbord of how you could fix it. All right. The issue is we need a congressman, someone like myself, who's going to go down there. Every morning they're going to come in, the bureaucrats, and they're going to see Congressman Green sitting in their office, and they're going to know until we all get in the same room and get together and figure out what approvals we need. I'm just going to be there every day. I'll be the squeaky wheel.
Oh, that's good.
That sounds good. Hey, I want to remind everybody that's watching or listening that you can call in if you have a question or a comment for Rick Green. Call 978-374-1900, and we'll be glad to take your call and get you an answer from the candidate, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Rick, I really like what you're saying. Do you think that part of it could be that It's red tape. It's Massachusetts bureaucracy. Where is the snag? Is it in Washington or is it in Massachusetts? Or is it a combination?
Yeah, look, I think what's going on down in D.C. right now, it's just a circus down there. I think that there's a lot of blame to go around. But it's not helpful in terms of trying to allocate blame. The reality is we need someone who's ready, who knows what it takes to solve problems, who can go down there and fix it. So it's not helpful for me to say it's this person's fault or that person's fault. The reality is I'm the person who can go down there and get it fixed.
But the reason I ask that is because unless you know where the problem is, you may not know how to get over that hump or how to fix that problem. So you do have to kind of figure out what it's going to take to make it happen.
Absolutely.
So that's the only thing I'm saying is not that I want to talk about who's at fault so far. What I'm really saying is if you analyze it, what do you need to do to get it through? And I'm hoping you can find out the answer to that because.
Yeah. Well, look, and one thing is. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to be on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Okay? So a lot of folks go down there. They want to be on armed services. They want to be on Ways and Means because that's how you pad your resume. If you're looking for a career in politics or you're looking to become a lobbyist on the back end, you want to serve on those choice committees.
Okay.
All right? Transportation and Infrastructure, it's a secondary committee. That's an assignment that they're willing to give out because a lot of folks aren't interested in that. But I'm not going down there to pad my own wallet. I'm going down there to serve the folks of the district and the communities that they love.
Okay. We have a caller on hold. Let's go to our first call for Rick Green. Hello, caller.
Hey, Councilor Mason, good evening. It's your good buddy Steve Costa. How are you?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Oh, so Mr. Green, just the person I want to talk to.
Well, here you are. You have him on, right at your beck and call.
Well, with the, I know you will follow the close race in the Democratic primaries. Your opponent was going to come out of it. What do you bring to the table that a person that was in D.C. that worked under Congressman Mean at the time, what do you see that you can bring to the table as a fresh breath of air to Washington for the district in whole? Just not up your, you talk about Concord Rotary, but what about, something like you brought up the Rourke Bridge, which is simply just falling apart in the city of Lowell.
Absolutely, and here in Haverhill, we've got the Brazileer Bridge. You've got bridges up and down the Merrimack that need help, the Merrimack River. You may have seen my commercial where I jump in the river and swim across. It's a way to make a point, but our infrastructure is crumbling through the end. Like 495, Massachusetts is ranked 50 out of 50 states in terms of functionally obsolete bridges. And the 495, the double decker there in Lawrence, where it crosses another bridge where it crosses the Merrimack, is functionally obsolete. I bring focus. I bring problem-solving ability. I'm someone who's done things that people told him his whole life, you can't do this. I had a little company and folks were like, that'll never work. And we made it work. And then they said, you've grown it to a medium-sized company. You should sell that before the big guys put you out of business. And it just never happened because we just kept pushing forward. You talked earlier, Bill, about, how do you solve the problem? So you keep pushing forward until you hit the next roadblock. You figure out what it is. You figure out how to go over it, under it, around. And that's what I'll do.
Well,
Steve?
you're not going to be if elected, you're not going to be the only freshman congressman in the state coming out of it after the defeat of Michael Capuano. It's just, it's very tough. And, just being a political insider, I'd be cautious on you promising things that, being a freshman congressman, you being in the majority, hopefully in the majority, because after last week, very touchy, back and forth between the Democrats and the Republicans, and then all the hearings with between Congress and Senate over the justice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tension and a lot of division in this country.
No, I understand that.
That's what I see.
When I first started making these promises a year ago, folks said, don't do that. Don't make that promise. What happens if you can't keep it? And my answer was, what happens if I can? Why don't we send someone down there who's going to try and get it done?
And if confidence to try and get the job done.
And if I don't get it done, that's fine. Then folks can measure that at the ballot box in 2 years. But I don't have a problem telling folks I'm going to put everything I have into doing it.
Right.
Caller, who do you think created the division?
And every ad I've seen you run is emphasis on bringing the money back to the state, bringing the money back to the district, bringing the money and putting your mouth, the money where your mouth is. Basically, you're a very successful businessman. I've studied you. I've actually, I am part of the Republican Party, so obviously you have my vote. It's an obvious choice.
Thank you.
That I cannot keep on voting people in this state that keep on going to the Capitol, and all their agenda is to obstruct the president and obstruct, the party, instead of bringing the party and the parties together and saying that this is a trying time in our country. Instead, what they do is they keep dividing it, and they keep blaming President Trump for things, the speaker, the minority leader, the majority leader are fighting. It's just out of control now, and we cannot keep putting the same, obviously Dan Coe's election with Laurie was very, very, it was hysterical to watch, because there's Dan Coe, who's coming from the city of Boston back to the district, and people just didn't simply trust him. Laurie's got a name for herself in the Valley. She, she worked for Marty for a long time. I happen to know Laurie personally. She's a great lady, but you just can't keep putting the same lockstep Democrat up in the Capitol, and you're the clear choice.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I agree.
It's funny, caller, you mentioned about what transpired last week, which I just thought of something creative. You went from a hearing to a smearing to a swearing in. Think about it. He started off, and then Feinstein waited, 6 weeks or whatever. Then she finally unleashed that letter, and they started smearing Kavanaugh, and then he prevailed, and now he got sworn in, or the swearing-in ceremony last weekend. And caller, I'd asked the question: where do you think the division came from of what we've experienced in America today?
The division's been going on long before the Kavanaugh hearings. This is just in coming from someone that's seen all these elections transpire in the last 20 years that I can vote. It's hysterical that it only gives Elizabeth Warren her soapbox to stand on to just to make a clear choice that she is probably most likely going to run in 2020, and she doesn't really care about the state. Then you've got Ed Markey, the other senator, who simply doesn't do anything but sit there. The only real vocal congressman that's actually fighting for the state is Joe Kennedy. And then the rest of them are dead weight. Stephen Lynch and Selfie, not doing a thing. You got all these congressmen. Niki Tsongas, I'm sorry to say this, all due respect, I love Niki to death, but she rode on the coattails of her late husband to get in that seat.
Well, she did a lot of things, though, and in particular, I think she was a very big friend to the veteran. And I want to ask you if you have any plans, anything specific that you want to do to help the veterans.
Absolutely. And the veterans issue, to me, it's kind of intertwined with the opioid issue and mental health. But we have so many veterans. I think we need to give our veterans more choice. I mean, they put their lives on the line. Many of them have sacrificed so much for this country. The Veterans Choice Act let folks, if you had to live 30 miles or more away from a VA hospital to have choice, if you put your life on the line, you fought for this country, and you're more comfortable going to your childhood doctor or someone you've seen for a long time to discuss problems of mental health or something else, you should be able to make that choice.
I think that's a great statement.
You have a congressman that's a vet that's absolutely doing nothing but obstructing the vets' bills now. And Congressman Moulton. So, I mean, we need someone like you, Rick, to get there and drive a nail into this Democratic Party in the state.
Well, he has to wake up the state in a lot of ways, and then he has to, kind of be a trailblazer to get some of these things done for our state of Massachusetts.
Well,
you may not agree with the president. That's fine.
You don't have to agree with anybody 100%.
No, and the thing about the president is, I mean, I like what he's doing. Do I like everything he says? No. I mean, he shoots from the lip, is what my thoughts are. But Rick Green, his ascension into politics is very similar to Trump. Businessman getting involved in the world of politics. True?
Yeah, because he cares and because he wants to see it done more favorably in light of the people and not just spending money in other countries or poor spending.
Look, my concern is for the people of this district and the people of the state. And mark my words, when I get down there, I will be the most effective member of Congress from the state of Massachusetts for the people of this district and the state since Tip O'Neill.
In a monetary point of view, I'll bet you when you get elected, it's going to cost you money to be away from your business.
Absolutely. This is a reduction in pay for me, without a doubt. You're not allowed to keep your job. You have to give your job up, which is one of the things, you find out some of the crazy things that go on down there. They make you cut all ties to your district once you go down there, and then you wonder why people get sucked in by all the interest down there, when by law they're forced to cut all their ties. But absolutely, I'll be taking a big pay reduction.
Well, I mean,
Rick
you
and
look
Steve.
At some of the congressmen, they went to Washington half broke. They didn't have any money, and they're leaving Congress and the Senate millionaires.
Well, that's because they become lobbyists. After 75 to 80% of these folks become lobbyists after they leave.
Right.
I'll never be a lobbyist. I'm not going to do a book deal. I'm not going to do some reality television show, and I won't take a pension. Again, I can't serve your interest and the interest of the communities that you love if I'm trying to pad my own wallet.
Guys, we've got to take a break right now, and we'll be right back with more discussion with Rick Green, candidate for the 3rd District, the Niki Tsongas seat, which is now open, and he's running for the seat as the Republican, on the Republican side of the ticket, right? And we'll be talking more with Rick in just a moment on the open mic on WHAV 97.9 FM.
Open mic.
Bill Macek and the new open mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900. If you're enjoying this program, consider becoming a WHAV member right now. Just click on the membership tab at WHAV.net.
It's 6:35.
97.9 FM, WHAV.
Catch the wave.
Melinda's Garden Moments help gardeners create and maintain a healthy, beautiful garden with ease, inside or out and all year long. This is Melinda Myers, inviting you to tune in every weekday morning, right here on WHAV. You'll learn creative ways to grow your own vegetables and herbs while beautifying your landscape. Eco-friendly lawn care, flower garden design basics, unique container gardens, attracting birds and butterflies to the landscape, and much more. Again, please join me weekday mornings for Melinda's Garden Moment for a very environmentally friendly approach to gardening. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Auto Fair Subaru of Haverhill has been an active member in the community for years. It's proud to partner with great organizations like Veterans Northeast Outreach Center, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and Katydid Foundation of Haverhill. These selfless charities are vital to our community, and Auto Fair takes great pride in helping. Auto Fair Subaru encourages everyone to see what they can do to help make our city and the surrounding areas a better place for everyone. There's a list of supported charities at autofairsubaru.com.
Wave weather.
Now your wave weather forecast for Haverhill and the Merrimack Valley. Very small chance of a shower early tonight, otherwise patchy, dense fog developing in spots, lows near 54 and a very light breeze. That fog will take a little bit of the time on Tuesday to get out of the area. Skies eventually becoming partly sunny, highs near 78, about a 5 to 10 mile an hour southeast wind. Partly cloudy, low 65 Tuesday night, and then mainly sunny skies for Wednesday, high 82 degrees. I'm WHAV meteorologist Brian Ivy. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new Open Mic Show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
We're back on the Open Mic Show. Bill Macek with co-host Bill Ellis, and our guest right now is congressional candidate Rick Green. And Rick, you have to leave because you're going to another event in Haverhill at about quarter of, so we got about 7-8 minutes left. And is there something in particular that you'd like to bring up for our listeners, that you'd like to talk about why they should vote for you instead of mainly Lori Trahan, who is the Democratic candidate for the post? Is there anything that you would like to say about your resume, anything about other things you'd like to do, when you're elected, those kind of things?
Yeah, so we talked a lot already about infrastructure. The other real important issue that I talk about and that I'm going to address and solve is the opioid crisis. Now, again, as a businessman, I looked at this and I said, okay, it's a big problem. A lot of folks are talking about it. What's our existing delegation doing? And I was surprised to find out that nobody had anybody on staff whose job was to handle the opioid epidemic. So day one, first thing I do is I'm going to have a senior level staff member. Now make no mistakes, it all rests on my shoulders, but you want to get a problem solved, you have to get someone, make them responsible, hold them accountable. This person's going to coordinate all the efforts in D.C. to make sure we have everything available here in the district that's going on down in D.C. They're also going to coordinate between state, federal, local. We've got a lot of great stuff happening in the district. It's a lot of nonprofits, folks who've been impacted personally by the opioid epidemic and then have made it their life's mission to fix it. I want to make sure they're all working together and we're getting the most out of it. But the other thing is, folks talk about treatment and education. Extremely important, and we need more of that. But what you don't hear folks talking about is business, okay? Opioids, narcotics, it's an illegal business, but it's also a distribution business. My brother and I built a company, distributing auto parts around the country, competing against the likes of Amazon.com and top companies in the world. I understand the distribution business. I understand what it would take to disrupt the opioid traffic. And I alone can bring that unique experience to the table when I'm in Congress.
That's fantastic. I'd love to see you do that one. And I bet a lot of people would. That would be so important because we have it here in Haverhill, throughout the district. There's a lot of opioid problems.
It's sad what's going on. Rick, did you ever have a political idol growing up?
I talk, my two favorite politicians are the two Pauls. Paul Cellucci from Hudson and Paul Tsongas from Lowell. Both men of the people who never lost sight of the fact that they were there to serve the people of their district, of their state, and that's what I patterned my candidacy on.
How about somebody like Ronald Reagan? Before your time?
No, I remember President Reagan. And then there's Lincoln and others when I was growing up, Lincoln in Washington. But I try and keep it local.
Understandable.
Good thought. Yeah. Good thought. Yeah. So you're getting close. What if people want to see more about your webpage? How could they reach out to you for donations, volunteering? What about all those things?
Sure. Our website is Rick Green for MA, rickgreenforma.com. Go there. You can sign up to volunteer, sign up, give us your email. We'll send you emails, let you know where we are in the district. We're doing a bunch of town halls. They can also go to Facebook, Rick Green for Congress. Check out our Facebook page. And we need the help and support. Every day we're out knocking doors, and we need lots of folks to help us out.
You sure do, and I know. So I wish you luck on all those things. And it's a tough race, and you certainly seem to have your thoughts together as to what you'd like to do, how you'd like to do them, and how you'd like to deliver for the district, which I think it's important that you have to do things for the whole state in a sense, or for the country actually, but you also have to remember that delivering the goods to your district is really important because we're counting on somebody to do that.
Well, and that's the job of a member of the House, is to represent their district in Congress. Not represent Congress to the people of the district, but represent the people of the district in Congress, and I'm committed to that.
That's fantastic.
And a message to get across is, if you're happy with the opioid problems and you're happy with the infrastructure problems, vote Democrat, because that's where they've had control for so many years. But if you're not happy, it's time to make a change.
Look, if you want someone who can get it done, who understands the problems, who understands how to solve problems, can tear problems down, I'm your guy. And one last thing, I haven't got a chance to speak about it, but also what happened in Lawrence and Andover. That's also an infrastructure issue with the gas lines. I used to build rockets. Okay, so I understand pressure systems. Again, I have unique experience which can really help to make sure. I'm worried going forward, when they're going to test these 8,500 homes, make sure that the systems work, and they might work today, but they've been exposed to a pressure well beyond their design. I'm worried about 2, 3, 4 years from now, we're going to have more gas leaks, more fires, and heaven forbid, more explosions. We need somebody in Congress who gets the technical issues and who understands how important it is for the maintenance and to keep our infrastructure in good working order.
I heard there was another incident today, just this afternoon, that had that high pressure problem. Luckily, there were no explosions or fires, and they caught it. But I guess for whatever reason, it seems like the gas is going wild.
The pressure was 12 times what it should have been.
In Lawrence, it was. Yeah.
Which is sad. So you built rockets? Were you
That's right.
Professionally or as an amateur?
No, the Pegasus and Tor, things that I built are now circling the Earth.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. So was Robert Goddard must have been your idol growing up as a kid?
I actually worked at the Goddard Space Flight Center, as a matter of fact. That's right.
God bless you.
Yeah.
See, well, that's good.
So these are just some of the hidden
talents.
Qualifications for you to go to Washington.
Well, if you make it to Washington and looking for a congressman to go into space, maybe you can ride on one of your rockets.
John Glenn was the first, but someone's got to be second, right?
Yeah, John Glenn went. Yeah, I was mentioning, and there was a show on years ago, and I'll just get to this point because it's pretty humorous. And they talked about the 70-year-old John Glenn circling the Earth at 5 miles an hour with his left blinker on. You think about that. I thought that was a good visual.
Well, I'll just tell one other short story. The president of the city council, John Mitchison, his father was in a conversation one time, and he was a rocket scientist. And the person said to him, "It doesn't take a rocket scientist to whatever they were talking about." He goes, "I am a rocket scientist." So you could say the same thing.
Well, it shouldn't take a rocket scientist to fix our roads and bridges. I mean, we put a man on the moon in less time than it's taken to address the Rourke
There you
Bridge.
go. Right. So,
true.
well, you got some great ideas. I appreciate the fact that you found a little slice of your busy time to come in and sit down with us here at the Open Mic Show. And we're going to let you go because you got to get off to your next event. We don't want them waiting for you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
All
I
right.
really appreciate it.
Rick Green, candidate for the 3rd Congressional District here in Massachusetts, running against Lori Trahan, the Democratic candidate. Rick is the Republican candidate. You can find him on your ballot on November 6th, right?
That's right.
That is the date. So we wish you luck, and thank you for coming in. And you can Google him if you have to, or you can find him at Rick Green for, what was it?
MA. For MA.
Rick Green for MA. .com. So once again, thank you for coming in. Appreciate your time, and good luck.
Thank you. Go Green in 18.
I like that. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Rick.
you. We'll be
Good
right
luck.
back. We're going to take a short break right here on the Open Mic Show on WHAV 97.9 FM.
Open mic.
Bill Macek and the new Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900. If you're enjoying this program, consider becoming a WHAV member right now. Just click on the membership tab at WHAV.net.
Those Boston stations don't always understand weather in the Merrimack Valley. Stay informed with WAVE weather every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day on Soft Gold WHAV.
Catch the wave.
When the Haverhill School Committee meets, 97.9 WHAV FM is there live from Haverhill City Hall. Class sizes, special education, teacher hiring, and spending are among the topics covered Thursday nights at 7 when the school committee is in session. WHAV's live coverage is presented in part as a public service by Youth and Powerhouse, formerly Girls Inc.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new Open Mic Show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
And we are back on the Open Mic Show. Back to Bill and Bill here for the...
Rick Green was very interesting.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's encouraging to hear what he had to say, and it's the tough. This is a huge Democratic area.
It is.
And you figure that the state of Massachusetts, you're really not getting much exposure to the other side. Yeah, we have a Republican governor, but he doesn't act like a Republican.
Well, but we also have a lot of unenrolled in this state.
Mm-hmm.
So you have more Democrats than Republicans, but I think you have more unenrolled people, or as they are sometimes called, independents.
Right.
But because there's some small independent party that took the name, that's why it's called unenrolled. But there are a lot of people that are really weighing out the candidates for what the candidates mean. Voting for people, not for parties.
No, Billy, it's so true. You do have people on both sides of the aisle that are no good, and you have to evaluate that. But when you take a look at the political parties, well, let's take a look at the past couple of weeks. When that caller called about division, the left seems like that's all they want to do is divide, and I think it's a carryover from the Obama administration. Anytime there was an incident, Billy, Obama always took the side of the person that was accused. Remember the incident?
Cambridge.
Cambridge was one. Michael Brown And they've known that this
Trayvon
Martin was another one. That could have been my son, he said.
Right.
Why would he have done that? It just doesn't make sense. He automatically turned against anybody that was on law enforcement. Automatically, they were wrong, and at the outset, they were proven to be correct. I mean, you take another incident. How about all those policemen that were accused down there in Baltimore? And it turned around that they were all acquitted.
Well, I don't think we should ever make that knee-jerk jump to either side. I think we should really do what was done with Kavanaugh in that they did an extra week for more research. It was said right from the beginning it was going to be limited in time and scope.
Right.
It wasn't, we'll take as long as we have to overturn every possible stone. That wasn't what was agreed to. Jeff Flake said 1 week and limited in scope. And that's what they did. And that's a sealed document. We'll never really know what's in it. And so far, from the people that have read it, I have heard them be pretty tight-lipped about they're not leaking. We'll just put it that way. But I think it did
Billy,
confirm.
the thing is this,
it did confirm
if there was
that there was nobody was supporting any of the allegations that were being made.
Right, and knowing Washington the way it is, if there was something negative in that report, it would have leaked out. I mean, Washington's a sieve, and that's why my thoughts are on this collusion thing. It's absolute nonsense. They know it's nonsense, but they're only carrying it, and they keep trying to carry the buckets of water by saying, "Oh no, there's collusion, there's this, that, and the other thing." Trump's name has never come up with any of this.
Well, it's just like when they went after Bill Clinton. They didn't find what they were looking for. They kept digging till they found something, and it happened to be somebody with the name Monica. I mean, that's not what they started looking for.
No, but
and who knows what they're going to find on Donald Trump? I'm not sure. But it seems to me that Bob Mueller is going to keep trying until he finds something, and maybe it's going to come from maybe of the two that have already kind of gone to the dark side. Against Trump, they may flip.
You're talking about Manafort?
Manafort would be one, and the other one.
But everything
maybe
with Manafort though all has to do with his business.
You don't know what the general's going to say.
Yeah,
he's been waiting sentencing.
Yeah, well, but if he really wanted, if Trump really wanted to tick off the libs, he just pardon them. I mean, they would go nuts.
He could do that, but it just wouldn't. It wouldn't pass my sniff test.
No, but you know what? If he did it though, when he was leaving office, you take a look at some of the people that Clinton and Obama pardoned. These people were outright nasty. They were drug dealers and so forth. And you're talking blue collar crime versus a white collar crime.
Well, that's true, but it's almost common for that to happen at the end of a presidency, but not during the term. But,
I tell you, everything about Trump though has been very different.
He's very different.
He's rewritten the book.
You got to say that he has done things certainly in his own style.
He has, and that's why he's where he is today. The country was sick of the left. The country was sick of the right. And here comes a guy that has a totally different image, and that's why he walked into the presidency. Barack Obama made Donald Trump. I'm convinced of it. Him and the way Washington was. Billy, have you ever looked at the polling numbers? What do they have, like a 17% approval rating of Congress?
Yeah,
it's miserable. And I think people were just disgusted, and they wanted to see a new face. Is Donald Trump always right in what he says? No. In fact, it came out that even his wife has said
she was over in Egypt, they asked her if she ever tells Donald to put down the phone, and she said yes.
She said yes, and she doesn't always agree with what he has to say. But, none of the Trump family gets a break. Did you see what they picked on her for what she wore on that trip through Africa? She wore a pith helmet, and they said a pith helmet is equivalent to the English control that they had over Africa back 150, 200 years ago. Well, maybe she just wore it to keep the sun out of her eyes, and with the heat over there. So no matter what she wears, if she wore a baseball cap, she should have worn the MAGA hat, but she would have been attacked for that. No matter what she does, what she wears, she always gets attacked.
Well, it's just the media in general,
It is a liberal media, Billy.
It is, you're right.
And it's terrible.
They don't have they're part of the resist movement. You know, they're trying to stop Trump and everything about him. Look at how many he has dozens of people that he would like to appoint to go to other countries as ambassadors, and they can't get them through.
No.
And it's really unfortunate that the middle ground has just disappeared. You know, and I think we've discussed it before. But once again, you know, somebody like a Rick Green, I think, would go down there and he would work with, you know, between the aisles. He would try to work with everybody.
Well, you mentioned Chip O'Neill, you know, and we've discussed it before. You had Chip O'Neill used to sit in with Ronald Reagan.
That's right.
And they used to discuss matters.
Yeah.
You know, they both were Irish descent. They'd sit back and have a beer, and they would get it accomplished. You know, when I mentioned to him about who his political idols were, and he mentioned Paul Tsongas and Paul Cellucci, you know, thinking back to on a more national scale, you took somebody like Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan, the Russians feared him, or the Soviets at that time, and they feared him because he would do that Saturday afternoon address, and he was out in California at his ranch, and he sat down and he started playing. He goes, "I've instructed my generals for a full-scale nuclear, you know, attack on the Soviet Union," and then he laughed about it. Boom, boom, boom. So, anyways, the Soviets caught wind of that. And they thought to themselves, if he's thinking it or saying it, he's thinking it. So there's always that possibility. And when Reagan met with Gorbachev a couple of times, Gorbachev idolized Reagan because of Hollywood. And they said he used to love asking Reagan about Hollywood stories and different movie actors and so forth. And Reagan took advantage of Gorbachev. If you remember when they first met, Gorbachev gets out of the car, and I think they might have met in Iceland the first time, Reykjavik. Gorbachev gets out of the car. He's got a big winter coat on. Reagan walks down the stairs wearing just a suit. So all of a sudden, it looks like who's more manly.
Right.
And then there was an incident when they were meeting that Reagan didn't go to the bottom ground level. He stayed one step up when he shook his hand, so Gorbachev had to look up at him. You know, and it's all psychological.
Sure, it's like meeting in somebody's office. You know, you have more power when you're behind your desk than being the person sitting in the guest chair.
Right, and they always say sometimes what you do is if you make the guest chair so it sinks. So basically, you look like a little kid behind the chair, and you have to look up at the person that you're speaking to.
Yeah.
So you know another good thing would always be is always have the sun behind you. It's like in the old westerns. You know, if you gotta have a gunfight, make sure the sun's behind you so the other person that you're having the duel with
can't quite see.
They can't quite see. That's an old western trick.
Yeah.
Billy.
Well. You know, I wasn't back in cowboy days. I'm not as old as you are.
No, you're not. But you know what scares me, Billy? This has just hit me, and I'm real nervous. You and I are wearing the same shirt.
Yeah, well, I noticed it, but I didn't want to say
You didn't want to say it?
We're close, yeah.
Yeah, we both have blue stripes.
I think your stripe's a little wider than mine, so I think we.
No, I think they're identical.
They're close.
This must be. You must shop the same store I do, Morgan's Memorial.
You didn't get the memo from Tim that what we had to wear.
Is that what this is? We had to both wear
right.
in
this
unison?
shirt with a V-neck.
Wow, this is interesting. We're both named Bill.
Yeah.
You know, we both have 5 letters in our last name.
Yeah.
We both wear the same shirts.
Well, that
I'm
could be
afraid
good
to wear
for,
if you're wearing Fruit
we
of the
should
Loom or
ask
BBD,
our
this will
psychic.
confirm
Well, we
it.
should ask our psychic.
Talk
who's
about the
coming
psychic
up.
that's coming up.
That's what I'm going to say to everybody. You know, this is an advanced promo on our upcoming Halloween extravaganza. It's going to be 2 hours, and we're going to be with a psychic, and you'll be able to call in, and she will be able to give you some information about yourself that probably nobody else should know, but you're going to be on the radio if you dare to do that. But, you know, when I've had psychics on at a past station that I worked at years ago doing a talk show, the lines were lit up nonstop.
Do you really believe it, though?
I expect it. And also coming to that same show is going to be Tom Spitaleri, our local ghost hunter extravaganza, right. So he creates all kinds of information, and he can hunt ghosts and also spirits. If a house has a spirit in it, he can go and find that spirit. He even has some pictures, he says, of kind of those shadowy kind of sparkling characters. So
you're the shadowy character, Bill. No, it's.
So anyway, that's going to be on the 22nd, 22nd of October, because believe it or not, that Monday night is the Monday before Halloween. We didn't want to do it after Halloween because Halloween is actually going to be in Haverhill early this year because of the way the dates fall. Halloween's the following Wednesday,
right? The 31st,
right? The 31st. Yeah. But the weekend before that, because Haverhill, we do it on a Saturday,
which is good because of safety for children,
right? And I think it's 5 to 7. I can't be sure because I haven't looked it up lately. But I think it's for a couple of hours when all the kids go out and go door to door, and it's a great event.
Do you have many kids come to your house?
Yeah, we get a few. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, we don't. We're not in one of the heavy areas where people do a lot of trick or treating. But
what do you get for candy?
I haven't bought it yet. I probably something that I like, because if there's leftover, I want to enjoy the leftover trick or treat candy.
Yeah, talking about that, we've got on the 15th. The Food Addicts in Recovery Anonymous.
That's coming up
and
in 2 weeks.
Right. If anybody's having an issue, 1 week.
Oh, that is it. 15th is already next week. Yeah, wow.
Anybody that has an issue with eating, food, weight gain, trying to lose weight, this is the show to listen to. These people are very strict on what they eat, but it pays off. I've been to the meetings, Bill.
Yeah.
And I inquired. I said, these people don't need to lose weight.
And you know some people that have actually gone the distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I said, they don't need to lose weight. And it's they have lost the weight, but now this is the maintenance program of it. And they seem to be very good. They seem to be very close-knit, very supportive of each other.
Well, that's what I think is important, is that you have a sponsor in a sense.
You do. It's similar to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right.
They do read from the big book, and I tell you, I was impressed by the people that I saw there.
Yeah.
It was
and they're on next week.
They're on next week at
in the 7 o'clock hour.
7 o'clock hour. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And it's Food Eaters Anonymous.
No, Food Addicts. In Recovery Anonymous. So the thing is when they're on the air next week, we will not have the video camera on them.
Right.
Because they want to remain anonymous.
Because they want to remain anonymous. Right. It's a pretty interesting program. But that will be next week here on the Open Mic Show. And we're going to take a short break at the top of the hour, which we are at. And we'll be right back for the 7 o'clock hour. And we'll go until 8 o'clock here on the Open Mic Show on WHAV 97.9 FM.
Open Mic!
Bill Macek and the new Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900. If you're enjoying this program, consider becoming a WHAV member right now. Just click on the membership tab at WHAV.net.
It's 7:01.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. 2 months after the abrupt dismissal of longtime head Cheryl Accardi, Haverhill's Conservation Commission has found a new chairperson in attorney Madeline Howard Morrissey. First appointed as a commissioner in 2014, Haverhill's Howard Morrissey was elevated to chairperson by a unanimous vote last Thursday. Following a nomination from Commissioner Ralph Basilier and a second by Phil LaCroix, the 6 commissioners present, including new member Joseph DePietro, cast votes in her favor. Harmony Wilson will continue in her role as vice chairperson, with Howard Morrissey's term running through mid-January when the commission hosts annual elections. Ms. Howard Morrissey and Ms. Wilson both acted with great deliberation and selflessness in providing the leadership necessary to do the people's work, Commissioner Basilier told WHAV. The commission's personnel changes come on the heels of Mayor Fiorentini's dismissal of 24-year Commissioner Accardi in what the former chairperson alleged was retaliation for the commission's decision to cite the city for cutting 147 trees along the Merrimack River last year. When asked about the tree removal, Fiorentini defended it at the time. In 14 years as mayor, that's the most popular thing I've ever done, he said. People love that project, he told WHAV, explaining the clearing opened up views of the Merrimack River. The replanting of trees was completed in early September. 100 golfers turned out Friday to support this year's 54th annual VFW Santa Parade. The 4th annual VFW Santa Parade golf tournament took place at noon at Bradford Country Club, raising $10,000 to support the annual procession. Top golfers 11 under par with Josh Walsh, Matt Taylor, Tim Sciutto, Ryan Ricci, and John Prendergast, according to organizer Tim Camo. All will be riding with the trophy in the Sunday, November 18th parade. Other prizes were awarded for men's closest to pin, Paul Accardi, 4 feet 5 inches. Ladies closest to pin, Judy Tracy, 4 feet. Men's long drive, Mike Sargent. Ladies long drive, Ali Scari. And putting contest, Dave Marquis. Next year's golf tournament takes place Friday, October 4th. The 54th annual VFW Santa Parade, which is being rerouted this year through downtown Haverhill, is expected to cost about $40,000. Parade participant and float applications are available online at haverhillsantaparade.com or by calling 978-373-3777. Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey made a special trip to Haverhill Thursday to lend her support to Democratic candidate for Congress Lori Trahan, a key endorsement coming with just 1 month to go until the state election. Healey offered remarks at the Haverhill Democratic City Committee's new campaign headquarters in Haverhill's Monument Square near Walgreens. Lori Trahan is a fighter. She was born, raised, and stayed in this district, Healey said. We know the girl who delivered the local newspaper, the young woman who waited tables at the local diner, the mother and businesswoman who will be a congresswoman, who never forgets where she came from and who she represents in Washington. Healey wasn't the only one to back Trahan during the local rally. State Reps Andy Vargas and Diana DiZoglio were joined by candidates Christina Eckert and Christina Minicucci, along with Trahan's primary challengers Dan Coe and Alexandra Chandler. Vargas said Lowell Ray's Trahan is a well-rounded and well-informed choice for Congress. There are really 3 things that voters look for in a candidate, and Lori's got all 3 of them, said Vargas. Does the candidate understand my problems? Does the candidate care about my problems? And does the candidate have the ability to solve my problems? Lori Trahan is that candidate. Trahan faces Republican Rick Green and Independent Mike Mullen in the November 6th election, with the winner replacing retiring Congressperson Niki Tsongas. Lace up those sneakers. The 6th annual Campus Classic 5K kicks off Northern Essex Community College's homecoming weekend festivities on Saturday, October 13th. Open to walkers and runners, the 5K is $25 for those who register by October 11th. Race day RSVPs are accepted for an additional fee. Northern Essex students may take part for $10 by providing their campus ID number. A DJ, food and beer service, and fall themes kids activities, including pumpkin decorating, are planned through the day after the race starts at 10 a.m. The afternoon concludes with the Northern Essex volleyball game at noon and a pie eating contest at 1 p.m. More information on race registration and homecoming events is available by visiting necc.mass.edu/campus-classic or calling 978-556-3629. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at whav.net. From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, I'm Eric Scott.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kevin McAleese. President Trump says his new Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh has been the victim of a hoax created by Democrats ahead of Kavanaugh's swearing in at the White House. A landmark United Nations report warns the world has just 12 years to prevent a climate change catastrophe, including floods, extreme heat and droughts. And the United Kingdom urges caution after reports a Brexit deal with the European Union is edging closer.
Wave weather.
Now your wave weather forecast for Haverhill, the Merrimack Valley. Very small chance of a shower early tonight, otherwise patchy, dense fog developing in spots, lows near 54 and a very light breeze. That fog will take a little bit of the time on Tuesday to get out of the area. Skies eventually becoming partly sunny, highs near 78, about a 5 to 10 mile an hour southeast wind. Partly cloudy, low 65 Tuesday night, and then mainly sunny skies for Wednesday, high 82 degrees. I'm WHAV meteorologist Brian Ivy. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
97.9 FM, WHAV. .9 FM, WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV. Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new Open Mic Show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
And we are back for our second hour. It's just about 7:10. We're going to be here till 8 o'clock at 978-374-1900. We have open lines for the hour. If somebody has a comment, if somebody wants to call in and discuss anything that's on their mind, we would be glad to discuss whatever is on your mind. Of course, we got some things on our mind, too. What do you think about climate change? Would you hear the report today?
Yeah, what did it say?
You didn't. Well, the report today said, I'm not reading from anything, this was going off the top of my head, but I think it said by 2030 that we could be in some serious climate problems and weather problems and flooding problems. And it's because they think...
Who said that?
Well, it was actually some international panel of hundreds of scientists.
But you know what has a major effect on it, and nobody seems to want to talk about it? The sun. And the sun is actually, they said, is going to be entering a cooling period. So when it enters a cooling period, the Earth is going to start to cool, maybe minute, but it's going to be enough to actually
hopefully that will happen, because they said that right now they predict it will be 3 degrees hotter in general by 2030. So that's only 12 years.
It is.
And if we can figure out a way to have it be only 2 degrees hotter, then that will stop a lot of the predictions from happening, and we will be safe once again. Because remember, Al Gore had us,
we were all dead.
New York,
all dead by now.
I think by now we'd be flooded.
Yeah, Miami was gone. New York City was gone.
Right.
But he invented the internet, Bill.
He did invent, so we have to thank him for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you.
Yeah, well,
You're not one of
but
these
you know
that has
what?
infrastructure
I think
problems.
what he, embellished upon was he was in Congress when they did pass the internet authorization bills.
Right. But, it's funny. The internet actually was around even before it was made to the public. It was actually used for military purposes.
So it's probably safe to say that Al and 534 other people invented the internet.
Well.
And probably the president, too, who signed it, whoever was in office at
Bill
the time.
Clinton.
Clinton.
Yes.
So Bill Clinton actually invented the internet. Safe to say. Well, anyway,
God bless
are you
him.
happy that we have the internet, Bill? Are you happy?
I am very happy. Without it, I go on and watch or read the stories on WHAV, and you know what's really positive, Will?
Every day I read it.
The Hillies.
The Hillies.
3-2.
They won again.
Yes.
They won again in a Saturday day game. And our very own WHAV's Paul Ryan is the voice of the play-by-play action, which is going on WHAV every time there's a Haverhill game, home and away. We're there, and we're broadcasting. So it's
and you can listen to it online.
That's right.
See, if you didn't have the internet, you couldn't listen to it online.
There you go. So the internet is a pretty good thing.
It is an excellent thing.
The only thing that came with it.
What's that?
Internet shopping.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
It's
very compulsive.
Expensive in my household.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, know what you should do? Let me ask you a question.
Once in a while, I buy something.
I know, but
it's just too convenient.
But if your wife,
it's too convenient.
Yeah, but if your wife all of a sudden said, "For the next 6 months, I'm going to buy my darling husband presents," would that bother you then? Would you be against it, or would you turn around and say,
"She does buy something for me, and it's kind of nice. It gets delivered to the front door, and you don't have to go to the shopping."
So you get a lot of things delivered to your house.
I believe in. I don't want to see the mall go out of business. I don't want to see the stores go out of business.
They actually say though it's reverting back. The brick and mortar is coming back.
I hope so, because I think we need to have a balance.
We do.
Amazon.
Well,
Amazon is like killing everybody.
We talked about this way back when. You remember the Zager and Evans song, the 25-25?
Yeah.
It basically says that there's no need to talk to anybody anymore. Everything that you think, do, and say can be taken with the pill you take today or something like that, and you don't have to leave the house anymore. You can get food delivery, whatever you need could be brought over the internet. You don't have to.
Well,
we can make a lot of people hermits.
It's like the book Animal House too. We're kind of living that too.
Well,
unfortunately,
yes. Well, I tell you, it would be nice.
It's not always good that songs or books come true.
Well, it's it's interesting you mentioned that. There was a book that came out before, when the Titanic was 1912. There was a book that came out around 1900 about a ship called the Titan that sank.
Wow!
It hit an iceberg. Talk about an eerie story. It's not to say that this author claimed to be Nostradamus, which is another category. Have you ever seen some of his predictions? But his what they call quadrants, and he never really comes out and says a specific. But if you read into it, it really is scary how some of the things. When he talked about Adolf Hitler, do you know what the name he used?
No.
Hister, Hister. Billy, that's pretty close.
Pretty close.
It's not like he used Johnson and it was Hitler. Hister versus Hitler.
There's some very strange happenstances in history like that.
Well,
remember how about the Sopranos episode with the psychic?
Yeah, the psychic is one of my favorite with Paulie Walnuts.
Yeah.
And
that psychic seemed to know what was going on.
No,
and I'm hoping that our psychic in 2 weeks.
Well, I hope the psychic that comes in doesn't all of a sudden look at you and see people that you murdered in the past coming forward.
There would be none. There would be none.
But that's what happened with Paulie Walnuts.
Right.
Is all the people that he murdered was in the room.
The psychic could see them.
Right. And he got very, very upset.
Yeah.
So,
I used to love that show, The Sopranos.
Oh, it was great.
They had great characters, and the writing was so on point.
It was.
It was a great show, and I just wish there was anything you're watching now that you think is like appointment television because it's such a great show.
Do I have something?
Yeah. Do you have something?
No. A lot of times at night, I'll like to watch different things on YouTube. I used to like to watch, different things from Johnny Carson because I thought he had a great sense of humor, and the guests that are on there, or some of the Rickles, or some of the. What's his name there? Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
I'll watch some Soprano stuff. But, yeah, I don't like it. It's funny in Seinfeld. But a lot of TV, I don't like it. I like documentaries. I was watching the thing last night on Prohibition with Ken Burns. We got to take a break, Bill, and let's talk about.
Well, we can, but we actually can go a little longer because we didn't start till almost 10 past on this break. So let's keep talking here.
You sure?
I want to talk about sports because you brought up. Sports and
you want to talk about the Red Sox?
I want to talk about the Red Sox a little bit.
Yeah. The Red Sox were doomed after the first couple innings last night.
Yeah, I know.
They get whooped, and now I guess Sale they're thinking about putting him in the
tonight's going to be an interesting game because they have that I can't even think of his name, but he's got a great record against the Yankees, and. They got to win tonight. If they don't win tonight, I'm worried because they only Yankees only need to win 3. Whoever wins 3, they're 1-1 right now. Yeah. So the Red Sox have got to get ahead. They have to win at least 1 in New York, or it's over. Mm-hmm. It'll end in New York.
Right.
So I hope they can win tonight because it's important. But the Hillies are football doing well. Patriots. They're back. They're number 1 in the division.
Yeah, Miami lost. So Miami started out with the flying colors. And
they technically are tied, but point-wise, the Patriots are like a couple points ahead.
But the Patriots beat Miami.
That's why they're ahead of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So that gives them the advantage when the one-on-one situation.
Divisional win.
The Patriots look good. They did. It's funny. I had the conversation with my brother. They just seem to win. Just when they do win, they're not winning like overwhelming numbers. Remember years ago, it wasn't if the Patriots were going to win; it was how much they were going to win by.
Yes, that's right.
And we were spoiled.
Right, we were. But it's tough. You got new players, but I think they're finally gelling. I think they got Edelman back. They were
using a figure the other day. Belichick starts off slow in September.
Yeah,
but they said in October his record was like 30-3.
Yeah,
so he's a genius.
I hadn't heard that, but
he's a
gets
genius when it
stronger.
comes to looking at people and who works well together.
Right. The teams get stronger as they go. September is almost like preseason for him. It's early. It's early season, and he builds the team by testing out people and plays. And
they say he eats, sleeps, and drinks football.
There's a new book on him. It's called Just Belichick, and it's over 400 pages. It's supposed to be incredible.
Well, in any of his free time, they say when he rides his bicycle, exercising, he's got a video thing in front of him. He's watching films.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he is intense, but look at his record.
Oh, he's as good as good can be.
Yeah. I mean, I got a feeling that Josh McDaniels is waiting in the wings.
He's the heir apparent.
Yeah,
because Josh McDaniels was going to be general manager. Remember last year, or coach. Yep, right. And he's turned around and he said yes, and then he said no, and he backed away.
Yeah. So I think Josh has a deal pretty much in the wings that he will be the next follow-up to Bill Belichick. But what about who's replacing Brady?
I don't know, but you see
Garoppolo's done for the season.
He's done for the season.
Yeah. So,
but would that have happened with the Patriots?
You don't know. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It wasn't like something that was going to definitely happen. He just happened to turn his leg. Nobody hit him. It wasn't like he got a bad hit. He didn't get taken out by the knees, but he ripped an ACL, and we'll see you next season, Jimmy. So they, the money, those guys. But getting back to the Red Sox, Price is like so expensive, and he can't pitch anymore.
No.
He has a 0-9 postseason record. Yet they say they're going to have to use him. Well, if they put him in the bullpen and pull him out, maybe he could work that way. But, is it his ego? They're trying to build his ego? Or I don't think it's in his contract that he can only start. So anyway, with that being said, we should probably take a break, and we'll get back to more conversation.
But we're lucky being in Boston. We got a lot of great sports teams.
We do. Well, yeah. 978-374 is the number for you to call in.
1900.
Call in now.
You forgot the last four digits.
374-19. I was going too fast because I was trying to get the break.
You want to be that radio voice. Hi.
374-1900. We are the Open Mic Show, and you can call us with any comments.
Do you know who's got a great radio voice?
Who?
Chris, our producer.
Chris does. He does.
Yeah, you
I
listen
know.
to him on Friday nights.
Well, he has a show on Friday nights.
Yes.
I do listen.
Yeah, and he's Thursday nights.
He's going Thursday night
because
too?
of the football games. He doesn't go up against the football games.
Yeah.
But you know whose voice I like better than his? The gal that works the show.
Now, cut it out.
No, she's got a great voice for radio.
We're going to take a break right now. You're just trying to,
trying to ruffle his feathers?
Yeah, I don't know. You're always up to something. 978. There we go. Bye. We'll be back.
Bill
sabotaged
Macek and
us.
the new Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900. If you're enjoying this program, consider becoming a WHAV member right now. Just click on the membership tab at WHAV.net.
For more in-depth coverage of the news, visit WHAV's website at WHAV.net.
That we deliberate and achieve with wisdom and understanding, recognizing the rights of all of our citizens with full regard for the dignity and justice of the individual.
Each week, WHAV News brings you live gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Haverhill City Council. Listen to 97.9 WHAV-FM each Tuesday night at 7 when the City Council is in session from the Theodore A. Pelosi Jr. City Council Chambers in City Hall. As a public service, Haverhill City Council coverage is sponsored in part by Dole, Childs, and Shaw Funeral Home.
Community Spotlight.
Haverhill's Council on Aging Walking Group invites locals to join its Tuesday morning walking group at Trinity Stadium. The group meets leader Sue Lagasse at 10 a.m. each week in the parking lot area between the stadium and the former Building 19 parking lot to the left of the stadium. Those interested in registering for the self-paced walking group can contact Kathy Bresnahan or Rita LaBella at 978-374-2390. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcement, click on the Contact tab at WHAV.net or email news@WHAV.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, I'm Eric Scott.
Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new Open Mic Show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
Well, hello everybody and welcome back. And we have a guest that's going to be on the phone. We have Mr. Jeff Deal, and Jeff is running against Elizabeth Warren. He called in, and we had planned on him at another time, but I'm glad that he called in now because we're discussing politics and amongst other things on the show tonight. You have him on the line, Chris? Jeff, how are you this evening?
Great, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you very much for calling in because we're looking very much forward to talking to you. I readily admit I did vote for you, and
thank you.
You're going up against somebody that I can't see what anybody likes about her. The question that's come up that I want to ask you is, she basically stated a couple of weeks ago in Holyoke, she's going to run for president.
Right. No, Bill, I think your sentiment about people not wanting to vote for her has been echoed. I was in East Boston yesterday for a parade she said she was going to go to and then did not go to. I think that she must be starting to understand that Massachusetts does not feel the same way they did about her back in 2012, and she really has not been around very much. And in fact, she's been traveling the country promoting herself to run for president. But I'm glad she decided to let people know after misleading us for so long that she said she wasn't running for president, that she now is. And I think it's made it very clear that she doesn't really have an interest in serving as the senator. I've asked her to drop out of the race, but of course she's not going to do that. She's going to try to be reelected, and then if she does get reelected, she'll spend the next 2 years flying around the country, again, trying to run for president, which doesn't give us a seat at the table down in Washington we desperately need right now.
No, it doesn't. And, I've been trying to find any of accomplishments that she's had. I can't seem to come up with anything. She talks a lot, and which is very much a liberal mantra, is, oh, this would be wonderful, or this would be nice. If the everybody had rose-colored glasses on, the world would be beautiful. I don't see anything definitive happening with her.
No, in fact, she prides herself on being the voice of obstruction and resistance of everything that's happening in Washington. I mean, she vowed to block the Kavanaugh nomination. That didn't work. She, of course, worked against President Trump when he was running for office in 2016. She endorsed Hillary Clinton. That didn't work out. So, I mean, even on the political side, she seems to be unable to deliver what she always wants to, people to think she's going to do for them. But specifically for this state, she's voted against issues that are important to us, like the 21st Century Cures Act, which was a bill that passed in 2016 that President Obama supported, and Vice President Joe Biden's cancer moonshot funding was in there. It was basically to try to end terminal illnesses like cancer and Alzheimer's, and we got millions of dollars to fight the opioid crisis. She voted against that bill, even though every other member of Congress from Massachusetts voted for it. And I think that just goes to show that she really doesn't think about the interest of the people. She's really focused on what works for her politically, and unfortunately that's not supposed to be what guides you when you're serving as a U.S. Senator here in Massachusetts. And I think the other thing, too, is in 2017, we ended up having the a tax reform bill that passed down in Congress that she voted against, and she, has vowed to repeal that. That's given Massachusetts a lot of people are now back to work. We have record unemployment. The country actually has record unemployment right now. We're at the lowest unemployment since 1969, the year I was born. So things are going extremely well, and she's vowed to repeal that, and she wants to increase people's taxes. That's really the opposite direction that the country's going in. That's giving more money to people right now at a time when they need it.
Well, hey, Jeff, I want to jump in. Is that okay, Bill?
No, go ahead, Bill.
Jeff, this is Bill Macek. Bill and I co-host the Open Mic Show, and I just wanted to say that I think it's also important that people hear a little bit about your resume. What you've done, for the state of Massachusetts. And I thank you all the time when I buy gasoline, because it hasn't gone up in increments with the cost of living or anything automatically, because you almost single-handedly, or I think you did create it, and then with the help of many volunteers, you managed to kill the automatic gas tax increase.
Yeah, Bill, thanks for reminding everybody of that. Back in 2013, Deval Patrick, who was governor at the time, decided that he was going to propose the largest tax increase in the history of Massachusetts. And there was a lot of different elements to it, new taxes on candy and soda and a lot of other things. And luckily, a lot of it got stripped out. But what didn't get stripped out was an indexing of the gas tax where it was going to go up every year automatically without a vote. And the problem with that is a few things. One is the formula itself would have made the gas tax go up based on inflation. Now, inflation actually includes the value or cost of gas in it. So when inflation goes up, our gas tax in Massachusetts would have gone up, but as the gas tax goes up, the cost of gas then causes the inflation number to go up. So it's sort of an ever-increasing number. It was a failed formula that other states have tried, and they realize after short years of implementation that it really ends up driving up the cost of gas to the point where it makes it very hard for businesses and individuals, families, just trying to get to and from work or dropping kids off to school. It just really makes it unaffordable. And so it's been repealed in other states that tried it, but Massachusetts decided to go ahead and do it. And we ended up going out there, collecting the signatures that you need to repeal it. And by the way, it takes almost 80,000 signatures to get a ballot question on there. Just to put it in perspective, to run for governor or senator like I'm running, U.S. Senate, you have to have 10,000 signatures, and it took a lot of effort to get those signatures. So when we got 120,000 signatures to get the gas tax on the ballot, the repeal of the indexing, we really worked hard with a lot of people across the state to deliver on that. And ultimately, we won the issue despite being outspent by $3 million. So special interest groups were working against us, state agencies were working against us. But we put $2 billion back in people's pockets because that's what the Boston Globe blamed us for as far as less tax revenue going to Beacon Hill. Well, I'll tell you what, Beacon Hill right now has a $1 billion tax surplus. They didn't need the gas tax to go up every year.
Right.
And we were right to do it. And I was really proud to be a part of the team to lead the team that was able to get it done. And there's so many great people. I'll never be able to thank all the people in Massachusetts who really made that happen.
Well, giant accomplishment for you, and it just shows that you are, when you set your mind to something, you get it done.
Well, on behalf of everybody in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, thank you very much. If you just tuned into WHAV, we have Jeff Deal on the phone, and Jeff is running against Elizabeth Warren for a U.S. Senate seat for the state of Massachusetts. Now, Jeff, you've got a tough battle going forward with you. It seems like Elizabeth Warren, and we touched on this, is sidestepping this election because I think she figures that she's a lock when she's basically leapfrogging into what she wants to see in 2020. Now, what I see out there, and I read a lot and I look at a lot on TV and I listen a lot on radio, the extreme left, which I think she falls into that category, she thinks that America thinks that way. But America doesn't think that way. America doesn't want to go back to unemployment rates, skyrocketing the way it was, and they like the economy. I mean, everything that Trump does, when you take a look at with tariffs and so forth, everybody says, "Oh, that's it, we're done." He wins. When the Prime Minister of Canada came across, when they redid the NAFTA program, of which they actually changed the name, and he says, "Oh no, we're not going to go along with that." They've bowed to the United States because the United States is strong. Should we beat it over everybody's head? No, don't beat it over everybody's head, but speak softly and carry a big stick, just like Teddy Roosevelt said.
Well, I'll tell you, Elizabeth Warren's been wrong on so many counts with the president and what's been going on, not just the economy, where she wants to take us to, where companies would be nationalized. She wants to allow government to determine the boards of executives that run corporations. I mean, that's not how things are done. That's how they're done in socialist countries, but not in the United States. That's not how we grew. The other thing she wants to do, of course, is make health care fully run by government. She wants government-run health care, which is going to cost $32.6 trillion to implement. Now, the federal budget's $34 trillion. That means we're basically going to double the size of government so that basically you put a bureaucrat between you and your doctor, and that's not what people want. We've seen in other countries where you have socialized health care, you basically have health care that's rationed because they can't afford it. Ultimately, government can't afford to do it. And it takes out all the incentives for competition and for innovation in health care. And at the same time, if you go to Canada, you'll see people that are waiting 5 years sometimes for a hip replacement or a procedure that you can get done very quickly in the United States because we have the competition still in the marketplace. So she wants to go to a fully government-run health care, and all these other elements that basically socialize our country at the time when we're really leading the world right now back in the economy. Not just reworking the European Union deal, but also the taking NAFTA and scrapping it for a new deal with Canada and Mexico. And China right now, if anybody's paying attention, ever since we started implementing tariffs on China, and by the way, I'm a free trader, so I don't believe in tariffs, but I do know that that the president right now is trying to negotiate a trade war that we've been losing for decades. So if you look at the Shanghai Index today, they just lost 5%, and they're down over 20% since tariffs started. China is incredibly dependent on the U.S. market for trade. We actually, purchase more from China than they purchase from us, so they are dependent on us. So they're losing right now, this trade war. And now that we've renegotiated with the European Union and the North American countries in South America, they're at the point where China's going to have to capitulate very soon, and I think Trump we'll be seeing the signs of that capitulation very soon.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, Jeff. You'll stick around, right?
Sounds great.
Great. Okay, we're going to be right back with Jeff Deal running for state U.S. Senator, and we'll give you more details right after we come back from our short break on WHAV 97.9 FM.
Open mic!
Bill Macek and the new Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900. If you're enjoying this program, consider becoming a WHAV member right now. Just click on the membership tab at WHAV.net.
It's 7:34.
For more in-depth coverage of the news, visit WHAV's website at WHAV.net.
AutoFair Subaru of Haverhill has been an active member in the community for years. It's proud to partner with great organizations like Veterans Northeast Outreach Center, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and Katydid Foundation of Haverhill. These selfless charities are vital to our community, and AutoFair takes great pride in helping. AutoFair Subaru encourages everyone to see what they can do to help make our city and the surrounding areas a better place for everyone. There's a list of supported charities at autofairsubaru.com.
Paul Ryan, Haverhill High Class of 1971, and Tommy Morgan, Haverhill High Class of 2013, are good sports. They're on 97.9 WHAV FM every Wednesday night from 6 until 8 p.m. Ryan and Morgan talk about local high school sports, the Patriots, the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, and more. You can join in with your calls. Good sports every Wednesday night at 6 on 97.9 FM WHAV.
Wave weather.
Now your wave weather forecast for Haverhill and the Merrimack Valley. Very small chance of a shower early tonight, otherwise patchy, dense fog developing in spots, lows near 54 and a very light breeze. That fog will take a little bit of the time on Tuesday to get out of the area. Skies eventually becoming partly sunny, highs near 78, about a 5 to 10 mile an hour southeast wind. Partly cloudy, low 65 Tuesday night, and then mainly sunny skies for Wednesday, high 82 degrees. I'm WHAV meteorologist Brian Ivy. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new Open Mic Show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
And we are back on the Open Mic Show, and it is sponsored in part by AutoFair Subaru, 503 Broadway, Haverhill, right off I-495 at exit 50. Right now we have a guest.
Do you realize that everybody that buys a car from them has been benefited by Jeff Deal's
gas tax? That's right. That's right. Doesn't cost them as much for gas for their new car.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, we have Jeff Deal, who is a current state representative, and he is looking to be your next U.S. Senator, and going up against Liz Warren in the November 6th election. So, Jeff, we really appreciate your time tonight on the Open Mic Show, and we're trying to let people know about you and as much as possible. But how about a little contact information in case somebody wants to find you on the internet? What's the best way to get the resume and all the accomplishments of Jeff Deal?
Well, thanks, Bill. Sure. If people are able to take this down or want to go to the website right away, it's Deal for Senate, which is spelled DIEHL, and then FOR, not the number, but FOR, Senate. So dealforsenate.com is the website, and what you can get there is a free bumper sticker or a free lawn sign we will get to you, but also you can click on a button to volunteer, because clearly this is a big race. We want to make sure that we do as well as we can across the state. Of course, in Haverhill or in the nearby area, we've been up and down the state in our RV, driving everywhere and meeting people, and we want to make sure that we see you. So if you go to the website and you click a button, you can also get email notifications of where I'm going to be, so that we can get face-to-face over the next 4 weeks. But we've been working on this campaign for 16 months. It's been just incredible. We've been getting a lot of support within the state and, of course, around the state. In fact, recently the Everett police officers gave me their endorsement, and then that was followed by the Worcester Police that gave me their endorsement, and then the Boston Patrolmen's Union, which hasn't endorsed a Republican candidate for U.S. Senator ever. In fact, the last Republican they endorsed was George H.W. Bush for president back in '88, endorsed me just last week. And then I've also been followed by the endorsement of the New England ICE Officers Union. And the reason I think for that and why it's significant is that because Elizabeth Warren has made some pretty awful statements about people working in criminal justice. She said that they're racist from front to back, and law enforcement officers took that very personally, the fact that they're out there trying to protect our communities. And here she was making a blanket indictment on everybody who works in law enforcement, whether it's as a judge or as a prosecutor or as a corrections officer. Here she is saying that basically anybody who's a part of the criminal justice system is racist. And if you don't leave that job, then you inherently must support racism. And so, that's awful. And
doesn't Liz Warren also?
Senator, I would never make a statement like that. And so,
yeah, that was
doesn't she also support shutting down ICE?
Criminals office.
Yes.
I want to make sure that drugs don't come into our country. That we allow ICE to do the job of deporting those who've come here, are trafficking drugs, doing human trafficking as well. In fact, there was a sweep in Lawrence just about last week. I think ICE identified 50 people that were rounded up as part of a ring of drugs, and also I believe there was criminals that had committed murder and rape as well. So, look, they're doing the job of keeping our community safe, and here we have this U.S. Senator that's called for the elimination of ICE. It's just really the wrong way to go, and I know law enforcement understands that I have their back going forward.
It's we had a candidate for the 3rd Congressional District on the first hour, Rick Green, who's going up against Lori Trahan. And Rick Green, he and his brother started a business about 20 years ago, and they've gotten up to 500 employees. And I wish I had thought about it when he was here, to say to him, you didn't build that.
I gotta tell you, Bill, when Elizabeth Warren first made it on the scene in 2012, and that little video came out about how she was saying that people didn't build that, it was government roads, I wish she had spoken to me first, because I live in the town of Whitman, which is the home of the Toll House Cookie. And, the Toll House Cookie is named after an actual toll house that was manned by a family. A family would maintain a section of road in Massachusetts, and you would pay them a toll to go on that privately maintained road. And the other thing I'd tell Elizabeth Warren, too, just like Rick Green's business that he has in Pepperell, and he's kept it in Massachusetts. My wife and I own a small business. We invested our life savings to open it. For 16 years, we've grown, and 5 years ago, we were able to purchase a property and develop a building specific to the industry. So, we've certainly done our part to try to grow businesses and hire people. But Elizabeth Warren says, you didn't build that. Well, I'd like to remind her that it was the textile mills of Lowell, it was the shoe factories in Brockton, or the machine shops out in Holyoke, or even the fishing industry of Gloucester or New Bedford. Those were the industries that built private hospitals and private schools long before Horace Mann ever came up with a public school system. So the private industry is what really drove the growth of Massachusetts and America, and she doesn't want to acknowledge that that's really where it started. In fact, think about this, Bill. The the Pilgrims did not come over on a government boat. That was actually a private contract when they landed in Plymouth. So, you know, the thing is, Elizabeth Warren wants to twist history to make it seem like government is the be-all and end-all. And really, government is what ends up stifling a lot of the growth that we've are now finally enjoying now that the president and Congress have been rolling back regulation.
Now, Jeff, when you get to Washington, and if somebody ever, decides to tease you about being from Massachusetts, this is a standard line that I use anytime I go any place. I say, well, look, of all the places that the Pilgrims could have chosen to go, they went to Massachusetts.
That's right.
Yes.
No, it's right. Look, it's a great state, and we have so many things going for us. A traditional fishing industry that, so long as we, get government regulators like NOAA off our backs and let us determine the local catch limits, I think we'll be in better shape to regrow that industry. Certainly, we need to make sure that we provide energy so that manufacturing does not continue to leave our state. Businesses like Yankee Candle I took a tour of. I mean, they need a lot of energy to heat the wax that makes millions of candles every day and ships around the world. We want to make sure that there's energy for them. And right now, Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant down in Plymouth is going to be shutting down soon, and that's going to leave us with about 19% of a gap in energy. We're going to have to figure out a way to fill that so that businesses like Rick Green's AAA Auto Parts and every other manufacturing company out there are able to continue and keep people employed, because that's part of the growth of Massachusetts. In fact, with our unemployment right now so low, I think I mentioned, we've got over $1.2 billion in new revenue on Beacon Hill that's come in over the last year, unexpected revenue that is now allowing the state to be able to make sure that we keep our schools' education affordable, that people can retire at a good time, make sure we take care of our veterans. I mean, there's so many things that we can do with government when we do it the right way, and when we let businesses help pave the way for the economy that gives us the revenue that allows us to afford that. So, look, I'm looking forward to going to Washington and serving for the entire 6 years down there as your next U.S. Senator, delivering like I have for Massachusetts as a state rep for 8 years. And Elizabeth Warren is not even willing to commit to those 6 years. She, if she were reelected, would spend 2 more years flying around the country trying to run for president, while we need to have that voice, that seat at the table in Washington that she can't provide right now.
She's very critical of the 1%, and you know what? She is part of the 1%. That doesn't make sense.
Her clothing donations recently? I didn't just found this out myself.
Like $50,000 or something.
In 1 year, $50,000 worth of clothing to get a tax deduction. She wants everybody else to pay more in taxes, but here she was, donating money to lower her own, or donating clothing to lower her own taxes. I don't even have $50,000 worth of clothes in my closet to give away, let alone $50,000 to donate. It's incredible that she's obviously a 1%er that wants to criticize other people for trying to make money.
But you know who did the same thing? The Clintons did the same thing. They did the same thing by stating that, Hillary used to wear ruby red slippers. And that's they put a price tag on it, and she put what I think claimed like $50,000, and they said it's probably closer to realistically $3,000. Now the other thing is, she's always talking about the poor college kids on the amount of tuition that they have to pay, and they're in debt for 35 years. But yet she taught a class at Harvard University, one class, and I think it was at $350,000, Jeff, that she charged.
$350,000 to teach one course. I mean, you wonder why college education is expensive, and yet here she is basically asking to be paid, the premium price to teach one course. I mean, if she really was somebody who was concerned about doing right and leading by example, she never would have taken a salary like that. She never would ask for deductions to reduce her taxes like this. She would actually volunteer to be paying more. But, here she is, again, preaching one thing and doing another. In fact, on Pay Equity Day back in 2017, which is in April, it's a day, I guess, when people designate that women are not making as much as men in the office. We found out that, here she is saying businesses aren't doing the right thing for women. She herself was paying women in her office 71 cents on the dollar compared to what men were being paid. And people can look that article up and check it out, because it just shows that she'll talk about one thing, but in her own practice, in her own life, she does not conduct herself in the same way. We don't need a hypocrite down in Washington.
No, but she probably could justify the amount of money that she was getting paid by Harvard University was because that she is an American Indian.
Okay. On that one, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more from Jeff Deal right here on the Open Mic Show right after a short pause on 97.9 FM.
Open Mic!
Bill Macek and the new open mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-9. Johnson Newsroom 97.9 WHAV FM presents the new open mic show with Bill Macek. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900.
Back again on the open mic show, Bill Macek and Bill Ellis, and we're talking with our current state Representative Jeff Deal, who is looking to be our next U.S. Senator, going up against Liz Warren in the November election. Jeff Deal is his name, and we appreciate your time tonight, Jeff. Thanks for calling into the open mic show. And I think you have such experience, and you bring so many different things to the table. I hope people are paying attention and weighing out, who is the best candidate to vote for. I see a lot of your signs, I will say, of late on lawns in the area. So,
and I want to interject though, Jeff, is we have reached out to Elizabeth Warren's campaign to be on this show, and with no response.
Well, that's no surprise. Unfortunately, I think she needs to be more transparent, but that's not been the case for a long time. Look, people are going to get from me someone who's going to have a town hall meeting once a month for the next 6 years. She didn't have a town hall, really. She had 4 of them in the first 5 years in office, and then has had a slew of them in an election year. You're not going to get an election year person out of me. You're going to have someone who's going to listen to the people, not lecture them, and go around and talk to people. And look, I think that's been reflected in who's been supporting me. I've been able to get help from people like Kurt Schilling, the former, obviously World Series Red Sox pitcher, Matt Light, Super Bowl champion, Dave Marciano, a fisherman, the tuna fisherman on the Wicked Tuna TV show, is supporting me. I've just had a lot of different people from different backgrounds come and help this campaign, and I think that's what really makes this so special. Is it's a grassroots movement of people that really care about their state. They want to see someone who's going to focus on the people of Massachusetts, and I've got that track record. I've been traveling around. In fact, I've been to Lawrence the night of the gas line explosions. I was in Lawrence while she was in Oklahoma and Pennsylvania, campaigning again for presidency, and that's just not what people expect. They want someone that's going to be there and responsive. I've been to Lawrence several times since. Whether I was with the National Guard handing out the hot plates people needed while their gas was still off, and gave out some camp showers a few days ago. There's some homes that they still can't get the hot water working, so we were able to get them buckets with sort of shower heads that battery powered to at least be able to clean themselves off while they're waiting for the heat to come back on. And look, I think that's what it sets somebody apart from someone who wants to work for the state of Massachusetts versus someone who clearly has their eye on the White House. I have my eye on your house.
Now, you mentioned Oklahoma. That's where Elizabeth Warren is originally from.
Yes, she was born and bred there. In fact, she's been advertising a lot on Facebook, evidently. There's a story that came out, I believe, in the Boston Globe today, of all papers, that talked about the fact that she seems to be spending a lot of money advertising about herself anywhere but Massachusetts.
Well, it's because she's looking for the national stage, of which you can see everything that she's been leading up to has been catering towards that, not to Massachusetts, but to her entry into the presidential possibility for 2020.
I think we've seen this once before. Back when Scott Brown was running for the U.S. Senate seat against Martha Coakley. Remember, Martha Coakley once said, famously, what do you expect me to go out there and shake hands with people in the cold
In the
outside
cold.
Fenway Park? And people said,
I remember
you're
that.
supposed to actually, be out there talking to people, listening to them. And Warren has been MIA in Massachusetts for years, and now, at a time when she's running for re-election, supposedly, she's not even around the state. So I think it just goes to show that you cannot take people for granted, and I think people will vote the right way, knowing what's at stake for them.
Well, she is taking it for granted. Now, because I think she's afraid to have strong, serious questions asked of her. We've dealt with this issue about her lineage, that she claims that she has American Indian blood because her grandmother told her at one time that she did. And this is
high cheekbones.
High cheekbones, and this is what carried her into the position at Harvard University when they said, we've hired our first woman of color. And that she used that. And and I know there are people that have come out and said, if there was a newspaper in the western part of Massachusetts that said, we'll pay for the DNA testing to determine if you are correct. And my thoughts is she's had this test done, and it's come back negative. Because if somebody questioned me, and I truly felt that I had some lineage in me or ancestry, that I would take the test to prove it to you. It's similar to this, Bill, and Jeff, when they questioned Obama's birth certificate. How many years did it take for that to come out? If I was questioned and somebody said, you don't have a driver's license, I'd reach in my pocket and just pull it right out and show it to you. So why do they skirt the issue and hide? It just, I don't know. Everything that's going...
I don't necessarily question whether or not she has the Native American heritage. She can take the test if she wants to. If her relatives told her that, fine. But the fact of the matter is, she got 2 minority hiring positions by claiming Native American heritage, and yet she said on record that she never benefited from claiming Native American heritage. She got a job at University of Pennsylvania specifically because of that, and at Harvard because of that, and yet they're trying to cover that up. She listed herself on a national directory of lawyers saying that she had Native American heritage, and after she got the Harvard job, the second one, she delisted herself as having Native American heritage. So clearly, there was something going on where she benefited from it, but she is now telling people that she never did. And that just gets to the credibility issue with her, once again, of, I'm not going to admit something that benefited me, I'm not going to admit that I'm not running for president, and then all of a sudden she finally says, well, I am going to run for president. I mean, it's something we've known all along, but can you really trust Elizabeth Warren to have your best interest and to be honest? And I think it's very clear at this point you can't.
No, and she's a big member of the Resist program. I don't know where she wants to take this country to. It seems like it's an extreme left. I mean, things are going really good in this country now, and because Trump's name's on it, she's just going dead set against it. If Trump came out and said he was for Jesus Christ, she would turn a deaf ear to Jesus.
Well, the other thing is we have a history with the Senate seat of people that could at least work for Massachusetts despite being on the other side of the aisle. Tip O'Neill was a Speaker of the House back in the day, and he could work with Reagan. But Ted Kennedy, who had the seat, he was a liberal line of the Senate. He was a big partisan. But when elections were over, he would work with a Republican president or a Republican governor in Massachusetts. And Elizabeth Warren, when Republicans were trying to fix health care, make it affordable, actually, she said that Republicans wanted blood money from the American people. And this was just days after Congressman Scalise had been shot in the hip by a sniper who was a Bernie Sanders supporter. I mean, Elizabeth Warren said that we got to get rid of ICE, and it was one of her fellow people in Cambridge who supports her that put a $500 bounty to kill an ICE officer and was thankfully arrested by federal agents about a month ago. So not only is she not willing to work with Republicans and be bipartisan, but she also stokes the anger and divisiveness that really just tears our country apart. And the Kavanaugh hearings just showed exactly what she's all about. She was convicting him before there was any corroborating evidence. She basically threw due process out the window, no presumption of innocence. Basically, if you're accused, you're guilty in Elizabeth Warren's mind. And again, our legal system, our judiciary system is based on the cornerstone of presumption of innocence. Here, Elizabeth Warren was using political purposes to try to basically tear a man and his family apart.
Jeff, I'm guessing that you have already learned to work across the aisle at the State House and that you would do the same thing in Washington, D.C.
Well, I have. In fact, just a few months ago, before we finished session, I was able to get an amendment of mine into a sexual harassment bill to make sure that if any Massachusetts legislator got in trouble, that the taxpayers would not pay for legal fees or slush funds to cover it up, because that was happening down in Washington, and there have been legal fees paid by Massachusetts, the legislature, to handle legal bills dealing with state representatives and senators who've had criminal cases. So fact of the matter is, I've been able to get things done with Democrats on Beacon Hill in a way that she really hasn't done in Washington.
Well, the thing is, Jeff, is we're made up of Democrats and Republicans. But the bottom line is we're all Americans, and we have to work together. And when I see that the left just trying to do everything possible to break this country up, you take a case where, you take Maxine Waters, basically encouraging people, if you see a Republican out about in a restaurant, you go up and harass that particular person.
It's not the America I grew up in. I'm an Eagle Scout. I always thought you tried to leave the campground better than you found it. For me, running for office has been a chance to serve the people in a way I never could have before. I was 40 years old when I ran for office the first time, so I'm not trying to make a career out of this. I'm actually for term limits. I think it's time for people down in Washington to start respecting the people who elected them and stop fighting with each other and just get done what we need to get done. Our country's great. We need to come together at a time right now when we have a lot of challenges facing us with the economy and making sure that we can, again, get back to an America where people can retire on time, make sure that we have fair trade across the world, and that finally we're stopping all the international terrorism. We've taken Iran to task by imposing the sanctions back on them. Now we're not seeing terrorism as bad as it was before. Things are going well, and Elizabeth Warren wants to take us backwards. I'm really looking forward to serving down in Washington and helping Massachusetts finally have that seat at the table with a Republican majority in the Senate that's going to allow me to deliver for the state in a way that hasn't been available in a while.
That sounds great. Jeff, we're running out of time. I want to thank you for calling in and being a part of the Open Mic Show tonight. And I want to wish you well in November 6th. You are running for U.S. Senate against Elizabeth Warren. You are a Republican. She is a Democrat. And
Bill,
go ahead.
Thank you both so much. Again, if people want to get involved and get lawn signs and get involved in some way or even donate, because we've got TV ads that are running, go to dealforsenate.com and love to have your support. And thanks, guys, for having me on.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. All right. So that's going to wrap up the show tonight, Bill. And we will be back again next Monday night. And next Monday night, we have already one guest lined up, and that is
Food Addicts and
Addicts.
Recovering Anonymous.
Yep.
So anybody, if you have any eating disorders, this is the time to be listening.
Listen
next
and maybe
week.
even call in.
Yes.
Right here on the Open Mic Show on WHAV 97.9 FM.
Open mic.
Join Bill Macek live on the new Open Mic again next Monday night. B. Johnson Newsroom.